What type of tissue is this, do you think? What type of tissue is that?
Adipose.
Adipose. What type of tissue is this?
Cardiac.
There's some other adipocytes. What do we see? At the back of the room, it might be kind of tough, but what do you notice about this area? Does it have directionality to it? Okay, so maybe that's useful. Are these cells massive? Actually, let's just start there. How many cells are in this picture? One, two, maybe three, 4, 5, around 6, maybe 7 are in this. And I can't even show you the entire cell because it just goes and goes and goes. So what tissue, just based on that, what tissue does this have to be? Skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle cells are incredibly large and they're also long. But if you're sitting maybe close enough to the TV, can you guys see this like step ladder? Can you guys see that in the background? These little stripes. Okay, so those are striations. So this is striated muscle, and that helps. If I see striations like that, these little hash marks, or if you see over here, that might be better for some of you. I only have 2 options in the entire body what that could be. It's either going to be cardiac muscle or skeletal muscle. That's my only options, because those are the only striated tissues, period. And then I think about just how big these cells are is one of the things I consider, how long they are. So this has to be skeletal muscle just because how long they are. Okay, but if this was cardiac muscle, what are some other things that you might be on the lookout for?
Intercalated disc.
The intercalated discs. So if I have enough time to prep, basically for the practical, I will find a cardiac slide that has decent intercalated discs. And I'm also going to show you how you don't need those to know what it is. Okay, but this is skeletal muscle. We might return to it, or actually we'll try to probably find a better slide as well to do it there. This is my highest magnification. What type of tissue is this? What type of tissue is right here? And right here. Not the dots, not the circles, but the loop, the bigger circle. What type of epithelium? What do you think this structure is in this structure?
Blood vessel.
Blood vessels, yeah. And so what epithelium goes with blood vessels every single time, 100% of the time? Simple squamous epithelium. Okay, so what do we see besides those? What do we see in this area? They kind of look like skeletal muscle cells. I can't really show you if you're like where I'm seated. You would be able to see striations. Maybe you can see those. Over here it looks maybe decent. I don't know about the back of the room, but over here I can see little tiny stripes. So this is striated. So the question is it skeletal or cardiac? Why do we know this isn't skeletal? What are some maybe reasons? I mean, these look like pretty big cells. I could kind of imagine them going all the way left to right, especially if you look at like this. That looks like maybe one big skeletal muscle cell. So we have to consider some other things, because the way the heart presents, it's going to look like there's really long cells, but they're actually not that long. You just can't really tell under a light microscope, so we're going to have to consider some other facts. So what else do you see maybe? Okay, so here's like the best example of branch that I've seen, honestly. So I wouldn't lean on that too much, the idea of being able to see clear branchings, but also yes, this cell branches right here. very clearly, and that is a cardiac muscle thing. So if we do get lucky on the practical or whenever you're making your drawings and you see that pattern, absolutely think of that as a major feature. Otherwise, if I look like over here, I don't know that you're necessarily going to be able to tell that they're branching. Like this kind of just looks like a space between two cells. So it might be kind of tough to actually recognize that, but you're not wrong. This is branching. What else do we see? So if you're close enough, or if there's enough contrast to the back, you see these little striations, which is very different from these, right? These vertical bars. Those are intercalated discs. The only tissue in your body that's going to have suddenly very strong bars like that is going to be cardiac muscle. So if I can get it easily enough on the test, I will try to find intercalated discs. I'm not going to point them out to you. I might at most kind of do this, rock the focus back and forth to try to draw your attention to them. Okay, but you have to, it's your job to look at the whole TV and reckon, oh, there's intercalated discs, so this has to be cardiac. Okay, but there's another reason. Even if I didn't have the intercalated discs, and even if I didn't have the striations, I would still know this is cardiac muscle instead of skeletal muscle, because look at this nucleus. This nucleus, this nucleus, over there is probably the best one for us to talk about. That guy, those are in the middle of the cells. Skeletal muscle, the nuclei are pushed to the side, okay? And they're kind of flattened against the side of the cell. These guys are smack in the middle of the cardiac muscle cells. And so if you get the right kind of view, if you do some searching, you might see something kind of like this one, which hopefully you can appreciate that right here. Okay, just that little part. And a little bit on the other side, but especially right here, it's not as darkly stained. You guys kind of see that? There's like a little clearing right here. You see that? So this is just protein, but right here, it's a little bit lighter. It's literally because inside that cardiac muscle cell is this fat nucleus, and all the protein fibers that make your heart move, they have to move around it. And so it leaves, oftentimes, little clearings on either side of the nuclei. Okay? Even if you don't see that, those nuclei are right in the middle of those cells. Questions on cardiac? Here's a good view. This slide's just pretty good. Shows you branching, shows you intercalated discs. You guys see the little clearing? So here's the nucleus. And then there's like this little clearing. You can see the protein like swimming around this nucleus because it's right in the middle of that cell. It's in the way of all that protein. Yep. Okay, let's look at... What type of tissue? What do you think? Help me narrow it down. Because I would say if you can't help me narrow it down, then that means you're probably just doing nothing right now. You're sitting there. Okay. Or just tell me the exact right answer. Good. Yeah, just a smooth muscle. Why? Tons of cells. I see some directionality to them, mostly because of the cells, honestly, because I can kind of tell they're like fish swimming left to right. But tons of cells. It can't be a connective tissue for that reason. It's not epithelium. That's a little bit tougher of a discussion, I guess. If it were epithelium, the only one that it could be is stratified squamous, and the only place we find that is the skin and then like the vaginal mucosa. And it won't, I don't know, it won't look this way. okay, just have to compare that for yourself. There's still too much space between the cells for this to be epithelium, is what I see. What type of tissue is this? Okay,
Cardiac.
this. Well, actually, let's look at it. What do we think? Yeah, I was gonna say those cells, those nuclei are misleading. This slide has all three muscle types on it, so I literally don't. It doesn't tell me which one is which. So we just did smooth muscle, and I agree. Those look like I don't see intercalated discs. I don't even really see striations, but I do see very large cells that are very directional. There's a soft intercalated disc. There's another one if you can kind of see that. They're not always as bright and bold as the other slide. But yeah, I see these big nuclei in the middle of that protein, and I even see clearings on either side of them. So this should be cardiac muscle, which means our next one should be skeletal. Okay, and it is, but this is not the best view for us to study, so let me find it. Okay, actually, what is this? This is actually still cardiac muscle, but coming in and out of the screen. So let's actually think about that a little bit. If you remember, if you dig deep back to anatomy, you learn about muscle fascicles, which is a skeletal muscle thing. I thought these were fascicles in cross section coming in and out of the screen. They're not, and one of the ways I can tell now even more is because again, there's that nucleus right in the middle of this big cell, just stuck in the middle of it, stuck in the middle of it, stuck in the middle of it. So I wasn't down far enough, so I got to go this stuff.